Good morning and welcome back to our daily broadcast, Coffee and Headlines. That's what it's called. Here we take a look at comments, questions, ideas, topics that have to do with Puerto Vallarta, that have to do with Mexico, so that our lives, I'm not giving you a good intro speech, Jesus. This is a place for English-speaking locals. Here's where we exchange news, headlines, comments, ideas, topics, suggestions, anything we can get a hold on to have a most amazing life here in Puerto Vallarta. If this is the first time you're joining us, my name is Paco, and you are welcome to let us know if you are new by writing the word new in your comments. If you have important things that you want to bring up during the broadcast, all you have to do is add the letter Q to your comment, and we'll get to it during the second half of the broadcast. Today, we have a shitload of news, and just about everything, in fact, everything is good news. We don't have bad news today. Well, we have one cautionary piece, one cautionary bit of news that we have to share. But other than that, everything is great news, and we have 8 news items to share today. So we might as well get rolling on the news. Well, so much for tighter organization. Yesterday, we announced that we assumed that vaccination for folks in their 50s would be by alphabetical order, and this estimation turned out to be inaccurate. For whatever reason, the local government has announced that vaccination will be first come, first served. Folks that show up with their vaccination registration papers previously filled out will have priority. This is what the authorities have said. And just in case you're wondering about this, Governor, where did my Governor Alfaro announcement go? I had a Governor Alfaro announcement scheduled to, here it is. It just didn't show up in the proper order. There it is. This was confirmed by Governor Alfaro, who posted this announcement yesterday on his Facebook page, where we can see that there are no specifications for alphabetical anything. So there you have it. Just show up with your voting card, your printed CURP number, and your vaccination paperwork, and you are all set. But more information is available in this other article, where we learn that 36,000 vaccines have been set aside for cincuentones. And cincuentones is the Spanish word for those in our 50s. If you are in your 60s, then you are a sesentón or a sesentona. If you're in your 40s, you're a cuarentón or cuarentona, and so forth and so on. So anyhow, 36,000 vaccines for us cincuentones. An additional 4,000 vaccines will be available for pregnant women. And most importantly, there will also be vaccines available for seniors. This came up yesterday. Seniors that somehow did not get in on the first and second senior vaccination campaigns. But The vaccination will only be available for seniors that have not received a first dose of a different brand. I believe that the vaccines that will be distributed this time around for cincuentones are AstraZeneca. So if you are in the middle of a Pfizer love affair, you will have to wait for more Pfizer vaccines to become available locally. Also, keep in mind that this vaccination campaign is not only for Puerto Vallarta residents, it is also including residents from Cabo Corrientes, Tomatlán, Mascota, Talpa de Allende, and San Sebastián del Oeste. The government is scheduling or calculating the application of approximately 7,000 vaccines per day or around 1,000 vaccines per hour. One more thing, this article that we're quoting right now mentions that you should also bring a comprobante de domicilio or proof of address, proof of where you live. This is usually a telephone bill or an electric bill. Moving right on, and speaking of Pfizer, an additional 585,000 vaccines from Pfizer have arrived in Mexico, bringing up the total to 12,665,445 vaccines delivered to the government of Mexico from this particular pharmaceutical company. Distribution points for these vaccines have not been announced just yet. On another news, and this is the cautionary news that I was referring to, is that authorities have announced that the frontier, the border with the United States, continues restricted to essential crossings until June 21st. This is the land crossing at the borders. And these are our formal news items. So if you're scheduled to get a vaccine and because you're in this age group, well, there's not going to be a better or a worse time to go. So just put your cluster together, get yourself over there, wear sunscreen, wear a hat, do whatever you have to do, but get vaccinated, please. Let us jump over to the weather and we can continue with the rest of the broadcast. Kids, come quick. The sun is out and shining on the important part of the world. Of course, it is shining on us. How accurate that comment is. Right now, we are looking at a temperature of 26 degrees Celsius. Feels like 28. Our temperature is in Fahrenheit is 79 degrees. And humidity is at 61% today. Our weather forecast for the day is calls for a clear day with high temperature of 29, low temperature of 20. Tomorrow, Friday, we can expect a partly cloudy day with a high temperature of 29 and a low temperature of 21. Saturday, it'll be humid through the day with a high temperature of 31, low temperature of 21. So in a way, it's a little cooler than last week. I was commenting with some friends yesterday that last week's weather was really, really miserable. And somehow this week has turned out to be slightly fresher, which is a good thing. Before I get started with your comments, let me share a few other headlines that we have put together. We start with a factoid. On a day like today, but in 1888, the steamboat Democrat or Democrata arrived in Puerto Vallarta, which was known at the time as Las Peñas, to pick up 437 prisoners to be transferred to the Marias Islands, the penal colony, to complete their sentence. As you know, the Marias Islands are located on the coast of Nayarit and have been repurposed into an ecological center to open this summer for all of us to visit. The Marias Islands came up in conversation with some friends yesterday. So there you have it. That's Puerto Vallarta was one of the ports used to transfer prisoners over there. The prisoners mentioned in this article were not from Puerto Vallarta, and I suppose that's that. Good news for theaters in the state of Jalisco. Jalisco authorities have lifted their restrictions for theaters to be able to provide their shows as long as they follow these guidelines. I'm going to read this in case you happen to own a theater and, of course, you've been responsibly closed, as you should, or following the guidelines. The new guidelines mean or say that you have to schedule your production, rehearsal, and shows in a in 2 to 3 days according to their complexity, the production complexity. So you need to mount your show in 2 to 3 days. You can offer up to three functions per day with a minimum amount of time of 1 hour between functions so that the theaters can be properly disinfected. Um, People will not be able to remain in the theater once the show is over. Once the show is over, you have to leave the theater. This particular measure is temporary, and it will be modified according to the authorities moving forward. Um, for each production that you schedule, you have to develop a plan that establishes the specific conditions in which you are going to welcome theater goers, how circulation of people throughout the theater is going to happen, and that specifies a diagnostic of risk for the production. How this is going to be done, I'm sure that there's going to be specific details available. And last but not least, you have to designate a person to be responsible to ensure all the correct implementation of the protocol of action for COVID 19 and all the related sanitary measures. So that would be for theater owners. For theater goers, needless to say, it's opening, and we're going to start going to theaters as we feel comfortable, and that's going to obviously continue to be a personal choice. Moving on, I want to let you know that studios are starting to release blockbuster films again, and some of these are slated for opening here in Mexico as well, gradually returning to the usual summer release schedule followed in the United States. You know, the big openings taking place between July 4th and somewhere in the fall. I forget the date. I think it's Labor Day or Memorial Day. I get those two confused. But anyhow, this article that I'm going to share with the show notes mentions a number of specific films providing specific opening dates. So if you've been keen on returning to the movies, there may be some for you here. In a second article that I'm not including in the show notes, we also learned that Cinemex, considered the second largest movie chain in Mexico after Cinépolis, is also hoping to gradually begin reopening their movie theaters starting on May 26. We know that Cinemex went on pause 3 months ago, and now they're planning on reopening 153 of their 300 movie complexes located throughout the country. And the last bit of news, if you happen to be a market vendor, the Riviera Market that takes place in the Pitillal walking path, and we've mentioned a couple of times previously here at Coffee and Headlines, has announced a call for entries for a special ecological market to take place on Saturday, May 29th from noon to 8. Let me tell you what they're looking for. They're looking for people that sell plants, ecological products, ecological health and beauty products, the sale of used clothing in favor of the environment, healthy prepared foods with ecological ingredients, natural food, organic food, fruits, vegetables, and any kind of article that is, that is environmentally friendly. No plastic bags or disposable packaging is allowed. And if you happen to fit the bill as a vendor, there is a contact person and telephone number included in the show notes. And if you happen to be a shopper like myself and you would like to go to an environmental shopping experience, Saturday 29 is the date. You may want to write that down in your calendar book. And these are the news that we have for today. So we now switch over to Chit Chat mode just to see what's going on. I saw some interesting questions during the broadcast. Aside from our usual good mornings, Brett is joining us from Mazatlan. Well, I think you're not in Mazatlan right now, right, Brett? You're in north of the border, but it's great to see you. John is in the house. Larkspur's in the house. Good morning, Dave. It's great to see you. Let's see what else we have. Da 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 da. Oh, my husband got his prick today, and he was only gone for 3 hours. Sue, congratulations. Good for you. Treasure Sked Richardson. Now, that is a name. Have you heard the new rules for no smoking in PV? I have heard lots of fines are being handed out. I have not heard of any new rules for no smoking in PV, and I couldn't be thrilled. I couldn't be more thrilled if fines are being handed out for people that do not abide by the current guidelines. So that is absolutely wonderful. Um, Question: no smoking in bars. I believe bars have not allowed smoking. In fact, I don't think you're allowed to smoke in bars and restaurants in any place. So if people are getting fined for breaking the rules, you know, why do you break the rules? Let's see. Let's see what else we have. I've heard in bars or out in front of bars or in public areas, not sure what the real rules are. Well, the real rules probably belong to the government, and if the government has not announced them, is for whatever reason. But if anybody has a doubt about this, the easiest way to figure it out is calling Reglamentos in City Hall. We've posted their telephone number in the past. We might even have it floating around here somewhere. So if you have questions about that, the best place to get information is the source. And the source would be Reglamentos. And I regret that we don't have the number handy, but I am sure it can be Googled. Oh, no, wait a second. Look at that. Call 322-224-0918, and that is the place where you can very quickly obtain an answer to the question regarding whether you can smoke or not in whatever place. Let's see. A question for me. Paco, when are you going for your vaccination? I am talking with my mini cluster, and we're trying to schedule it. It may be today, it may be tomorrow. I'm still not sure. Let's see what else we have. Da, 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 da. Let's see what else. Oh, Brett's coming back in 2 weeks. That's good to hear. Bayard, Heather Wilson says, surprising there's just one location giving shots for 50 to 59. So just taking a good book or friends. Absolutely. Absolutely. Then again, we've just announced that authorities claim they are capable of vaccinating up to 1,000 people per hour. So hopefully they have enough pricks available to that. So I am assuming that that it'll be brisk. But again, you may want to plan accordingly. My personal hunch would be not to wait until the very end of the vaccination campaign, because the vaccination campaign includes smaller communities, and traditionally news take longer to reach smaller communities like San Sebastián del Oeste and Mascota and so forth and so on. So I suspect that a lot of people from these communities will wait until the weekend or the final days to get it done. So I would plan on going sooner than later. You're quite welcome. Again, I'm sorry I don't have all the answers. I usually have answers related to headlines that we read, and strongly encourage that whenever people start talking about these things, that you go to sources that are legitimate. Yesterday, I was told of some very weird ideas that you needed to get a rubber stamp on your vaccination paperwork to make it official, because otherwise, when you enter the United States or Canada, you could be turned back. And we don't know where that came from. Apparently, it came from people that are speculating on Facebook and so forth and so on. So that's when things get ugly, and that's when we become anxious. Again, go to the source whenever you can. Kelly reports that people are saying that the line is moving fast. This is absolutely wonderful. And be sure to have had breakfast first, says Matthew Schubring. And and of course, Matthew mentions things that we have already talked about. If you're getting a second shot, don't mix brands because that is definitely not advised. And and there you have it. Whenever I get around to getting my vaccine, which again will hopefully be sooner than later, I will either go live on the spot just to show you how it's looking, or I will take photographs so that we can document everything that's going on. And these are the news for today. This is our broadcast. And unless you have any other important issues going on, we are going to wrap things up. Tomorrow is Friday. It's the end of the week. We're going to take a look at whatever interesting or important events we see floating around on Facebook, and we'll take a look at the news that we have available to share for tomorrow. Between now and then, as always, I thank you for your company. I thank you for your questions. And I thank you for being part of this cluster of ours. Between now and the next time we get together, stay happy, stay kind, have breakfast if you're going for your vaccine. Be patient with the process. Try to do it with your friends. Um, and don't drink alcohol the night before the vaccine. Shit. Okay, so maybe I shouldn't go today. No, I'm just kidding. Um, just just take care of yourselves, and hopefully I'll see you sometime soon. I'll be here tomorrow. Have a great day.